Stop, not because I told you to. Stop because something in you already knows. Somewhere underneath all the noise you've been generating, all the running, the reaching, the relentless performing of a life you haven't yet lived, there is stillness waiting. And it has been waiting for longer than you realize. You were told to chase harder. I want more. Grind until your body forgets what rest feels like. They packaged that advice in motivational music and sunrise footage and sold it to you like gospel. And you believed it because you wanted to believe it. Because hunger, at least, feels like movement. But movement and progress are not the same thing. The truth that no bright smiling video will ever tell you is this. The moment your wanting becomes visible, truly visible, the kind that leaks from your posture and pulls in your eyes, you have already handed your power to whoever is watching. Employers feel it, lovers feel it, the room feels it, and the room adjusts. It withholds, it delays, it negotiates from a position of comfort while you negotiate from one of need. You were not betrayed by the world. You were betrayed by a strategy that was never built for people who actually intend to rise. Power does not run toward what chases it. Power moves slowly, deliberately, in the direction of what has stopped moving altogether. So tonight, here, now, stop. There is a law older than philosophy, older than empire, older than every book that has ever tried to name it. It lives in the behavior of every predator that has ever existed. Watch the lion. It does not sprint after every gazelle on the plain. The hawk does not panic at every shift in the wind. The wolf does not howl to announce its hunger. They still go. So still the world forgets they are there. So still the world stops guarding itself. And that is precisely the moment they move. Stillness is not surrender. It is the highest form of strategy ever conceived. You have been moving first your entire life. You have been the one to text first, apologize first, explain first, over-deliver first. You have been loud with your wanting and wondered why the world treated you like prey. But prey is anxious. Prey flinches. Prey runs toward every promise and scatters at every sound. The still hunter does none of that. The still hunter contains their hunger. Keep it private, almost sacred. And from that containment grows a gravity so quiet and so heavy that the world begins to bend toward it without being asked. The less you react, the more they wonder. The less you explain, the more they assume. The less you need, the more arrives. This is not philosophy. This is the mechanics of human nature, which has always been allergic to ease and obsessed with whatever resists its grasp. Become the thing that does not grasp back. Become the closed room everyone suddenly wants to enter. Sit in your own stillness, the way a king sits on his throne, not performing the role, not watching to see who notices, but simply having nowhere else he needs to be. That is when the calls come. That is when the offers arrive. That is when people who never thought of you begin thinking about you for reasons they cannot name. Before what you want can reach you, something inside you has to die. Say it plainly. The old version of you, the anxious one, the performing one, the one who smiled through betrayal and gave more than was ever deserved and loved people who could not love back. That version cannot carry you into what is coming. It was built for a different season. It was built to survive, not to command. And what is moving toward you now requires hands that no longer tremble. Honor that old self. It carried you through things that should have broken a weaker soul. It absorbed wounds it never deserved and kept walking anyway. Respect it, but do not hand it the wheel anymore. Let the version that begged for closure die. Let the version that exhausted itself explaining to people who had already decided die. Let the version that confused busyness with purpose, noise with power, attention with love. Let all of it be laid down quietly, without ceremony, without a eulogy. Because the moment you make this interior decision, something in the world around you shifts. Before you change a single visible thing, before you post anything, say anything, or alter a single detail of your life, the people nearest to you will feel it. Some will become uneasy, some will pull away, some will move closer, drawn by something they cannot name. Let them all react. Their reactions are no longer your concern. Your only concern is the silent, sovereign work of building the person that the next chapter of your life requires. Now, we reach the part most people are too afraid to walk into. Detachment, not indifference. Those are not the same thing. Indifference is the death of caring. Detachment is its evolution. Indifference says, I feel nothing. Detachment says, I feel everything, and nothing owns me. Look honestly at your life. Look at how much of your energy is currently hostage to people who do not think about you while they brush their teeth at night. Count the hours you have spent replaying conversations with people who have already moved on. Notice how often your entire mood has been held hostage by a single message that either arrived or did not. That is not a personality. That is a hostage situation, dressed up as one. The art of detachment is learning to let people exist without letting them dictate. It is caring deeply about your direction while caring lightly about the commentary surrounding it. It is the ability to love without needing, to desire without grasping, to be present in a room without scanning it for validation. And here is the dark, almost uncomfortable truth. The moment you become unhookable, you become irresistible. People are drawn to what they cannot manipulate. They orbit endlessly around the one soul in a room who is not watching them watch. Become that soul. Receive a compliment without inflating. Receive silence without spiraling. Be the one whose temperature does not change based on the weather of everyone else's moods. The world is starving for stillness. It will project onto yours. It will assume depth, mystery, and wisdom. And it will not be wrong, because a soul that has done the brutal interior work of cutting every leash that did not belong to it has genuinely earned the depth that others can only imagine from the outside. Here is a secret that operates beneath every empire ever built. Every human being broadcasts a signal. Every single second, whether you are conscious of it or not, you are transmitting a frequency. And the universe, being the ruthless mirror it has always been, sends back exactly what matches that note. The desperate man broadcasts desperation, and the world delivers more reasons to feel it. The anxious woman broadcasts anxiety, and the world arranges more situations that justify it. But the grounded sovereign soul, the one who broadcasts certainty, finds the world almost against its will, beginning to arrange itself in service of that certainty. This is not mysticism, this is mechanics. The frequency you carry is louder than anything you say. The world responds to the broadcast, not the speech. So ask yourself honestly, what have you been transmitting? Have you been rehearsing old wounds out loud? Have you been performing your exhaustion to anyone willing to witness it? Because the world has been listening, and it has been obediently delivering more of what you keep announcing. Change the frequency. Tonight, not tomorrow. Begin speaking about your life as if the chapter has already turned. Begin walking as if the outcome has already been confirmed. Not delusion, declaration. Delusion ignores reality. The declaration commands it. The sovereign soul does not lie to themselves about where they currently stand. They simply refuse to lie about where they are going. And that refusal, quiet, immovable, unperformable, is what bends the arc of an entire life. Doors will open before you knock. Names you don't yet know will begin to speak yours in rooms you've never entered. The sharpest weapon in the entire arsenal of power is one almost no one is willing to pick up. Patience. Not the passive, defeated, waiting of someone who has given up. Not quiet resignation dressed in noble language. Patience in its true form is calculated stillness wrapped around unbreakable inner certainty. It is the predator's pause before the decisive move. It is the chess master's silence in the final turns of a game already won. It is the long, slow exhale of someone who has finally understood that time is not their enemy. It is their most loyal ally. Watch how people destroy themselves through impatience. They abandon relationships one breath before the breakthrough. They walk away from a vision one season before it blooms. They sent the desperate message 1 hour before the other person was going to reach out on their own. Impatience is the silent assassin of nearly every empire that should have been built. The cruelest part is that most people never know what they killed. They only feel the vague, unresolvable ache of a life that almost was. You will not live that life. Most of what you wanted in earlier seasons, you were not yet ready to hold it. If it had arrived during the season of your weakness, you would have mishandled it. The delay was never punishment. The delay was preparation. The delay was the process of forging you into the kind of person that what you want would feel honored to belong to. Every day you spend in disciplined patience is a day you are becoming. And when what you have been patient for finally arrives, it will not change you. You will change it. You will absorb it into the architecture of yourself without losing your footing, without losing your center, without losing the sovereign stillness that summoned it in the first place. Now we must speak of the war no one warns you about. Not the rivals, not the circumstances, not the systems or the people who walked away. The real opposition, the only opposition that has ever truly mattered, lives inside your own mind. The small, persistent voices that flinch when greatness approaches. The ones that dress fear in the costume of logic and convince you that caution is wisdom. The voice that asks who you are to want this. Enemy. The voice that rehearses everything that was done to you and calls it identity. Enemy. The voice that measures your beginning against someone else's middle. Enemy. The voice that begs you to stay small, stay safe, stay unseen, because rising requires an exposure that the old survival mode version of you was never trained to endure. That last voice, the comfort-seeking one, is the most dangerous of all. You cannot rule anything outside yourself that you have not first ruled inside yourself. The person who cannot sit alone in a quiet room with their own thoughts, without the phone, without the numbing, without the escape, will never command the larger arenas of life, because they cannot command the smallest one. So go to war, not with the world, with the inner voices that have been wearing your accent for years, telling you the things the people who doubted you once said, still echoing, still occupying space they were never meant to hold permanently. Notice them. They are not you. They are old software installed by old environments. Every time you obey one of them, you are obeying the lowest version of everyone who ever underestimated you. Stop obeying. Move in spite of the voice. Speak in spite of it. Build in spite of it. The voice only holds power through your obedience. The day you stop complying is the day it begins to lose its hold, and in the quiet left behind, a different voice will emerge, steadier, deeper, the one that says, "We have been here before, we have survived worse, and we are not turning back." That is the voice of the self you were always meant to be. Feed it. Trust it. Let it lead. There is one final thing you must understand before the world begins to deliver what you have prepared yourself to receive. Most people are undone not by failure, but by arrival. They spent so many years in the posture of wanting that they forgot to develop the posture of receiving. And when the thing finally appears, the relationship, the recognition, the opportunity, the position, they cling to it. They panic at the thought of losing it. They perform their gratitude so loudly that they disturb the very stillness that called it forward. And within a short time, it slips. And they are left confused, wondering what went wrong. What went wrong is that they were not yet the person their own answered prayer required. You are. The work you have done, releasing the old self, practicing detachment, returning your frequency, learning patience, subduing the inner enemies. None of that was decoration. All of it was preparation. You have been quietly building the interior architecture capable of holding what is now moving toward you. So when it arrives, do not over-celebrate. Do not broadcast it immediately to unproven eyes. Do not let the excitement fracture the stillness that summoned it. Receive it the way someone who always knew it was coming would receive it. With composure, with gratitude, with the quiet understanding that there is more ahead, and this was simply the first confirmation. The harvest does not end the work, it confirms the method. And the sovereign soul does not stop becoming simply because something has finally arrived. There will be people who celebrate your rise who were silent during your formation. Receive them graciously, but hold them lightly. The higher you climb, the more precise you must be about who occupies the inner circle. Not from paranoia, from clarity. Do not let the arrival soften the disciplines that built it. Keep reading, keep refining, Keep showing up with the same quiet intensity that no one could see, but everything could feel. Treat what has arrived not as a destination, but as a checkpoint. Confirmation that the laws you aligned yourself with are real, and that everything further along this road is now accessible to you. This is where the teaching ends, but it is not where your story ends. What you want is already moving toward you, not because the world is soft or fair or in your debt, but because you have finally become the kind of soul that what you want would be foolish to pass by. You have died the right deaths, you have severed the right strings, you have changed the signal you broadcast into the world. And the world, being the obedient mirror it has always been, is reorganizing itself in response to who you have become. So do not chase tonight. Do not express your hunger to anyone. Walk slowly, speak less. Trust the invisible work that is unfolding in rooms you haven't entered yet, in conversations not yet had, in a destiny that is quietly, precisely, moving into alignment while you sleep. You are no longer the one who waits anxiously by the door. You are the one the door opens for. You were not built to chase. You were built to be moved toward. Now, go. Walk slowly. Breathe deeply. Speak only what you wish to summon. What you want is already on its way. And tonight, finally, you are still enough to let it arrive.